Okay, today we're going to make a ground skimmer. And what you see right here is actually a completed template that we're going to use to check ours to make sure we've done it right. So I will take this away, and this is what we start with. So the things you'll need are going to be a pencil and a ruler, 12-inch ruler, and you need this piece of tag board. The first thing you want to do is identify the side which is not the shiny side, and this side is very shiny, you can see there. So we want this side, which is the flatter side. And the first thing we're going to do is up in the top, we'll have it landscape so that it's shorter this way than it is this way, right? Wider than tall. And we're going to put our finger here so that we've got a little space from the edge of the paper. And then we're neatly going to print our name here up on the top. So you can see I just put mine up there. That's fine. Using all caps, do it nice and neat. All right, so at this point, we're going to start with our layout with our ruler. So we're first going to lay out all these points because any line is just a series of connected points. We'll start with our ruler laying out points at either side of the paper or wherever we need to be on it, and then what we'll do is connect those points. So we're going to start with the main body piece, which is the bottom portion of our project. And in order to do this main body piece, this piece down here, we need to first lay out some points here, here, and here, and the same thing here, here, and here over on this side. And then what we'll do is connect those points. So in order to do that, I want to turn my paper this way first, because for me, it's easier to read a ruler from left to right this way than it is trying to read it this way, going upwards and trying to make marks and stuff. I'm reaching across myself and whatnot. So we'll start with this ruler like this. We're going to lay out a bunch of points, and I have a little distance off the edge of the paper here, maybe about half my finger width or so I can make my lines pretty close to the edge there. I first want to mark a 1/2 inch. I want to mark 3.5 inches, 4 inches, and I'm going to mark 4.5 here. And then I'm going to come over to the far other edge of the paper, down at the bottom here. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to put my ruler pretty close to the edge of paper. I don't have to be right on the edge, but I just want to overlap it a little bit here. So again, a 1/2 inch. And notice how I'm making the lines as I do this to go along with the lines on the ruler. So I'm not making dots or anything like that. 3.5, 4, and my 4.5 I'm just going to make a little lighter to kind of remind myself. So now I've got marks at 1/2 inch, 3.5 inches, 4, and 4.5 inches. And I have the same thing over on this side. 1/2 inch, 3.5, 4, and 4.5 inches. So now we're going to play connect the dots. So when we do this, I want to line up my ruler really good and hold it down here so that I'm making a very accurate line, because the more accurate we are with our layout, the better our finished ground skimmer vehicle is going to work when we go out in the hallway and test them. So I make sure that that's going to work. I line it up the whole way down, make a nice light pencil line like that. Do the same thing again here. Line it up, and I kind of hold the ruler in the middle, if you notice that. Make sure my pencil lines up here and here. Then I make my line. And again, that's a light line too. I don't want it to be too dark. Now this one, so that was my 1/2 inch, my 3.5. Now my 4-inch line I'm going to make darker. And the reason I'm going to make it darker is just, again, looking at our pattern here. That's the object. So this is an object line here. That's the outside perimeter line of this particular piece of the ground skimmer vehicle. So when I do this line, I want to make this one a little bit darker. And again, I want to make sure I'm holding my ruler in the middle. I kind of have my fingers spread out a little bit so that it holds it down really nice and even. And this one, again, I'm making darker because this is my object line. I want to see that. So you notice how that's good and dark. Now this next line, I'm just going to make it about 2/3 of the paper over, but I am going to connect both the points. So from this point to that other point, the 4.5 line. But when I do this one's going to be light. And again, I'm only going about 2/3 of the way over, and you'll see why a little bit later. So we'll make sure it's lined up. Make sure it's lined up. And that's all I need to do for that one. So I stopped a little bit past the halfway point on my paper. You can see here. So I stopped maybe about 2/3 of the way over. That's all we need to do for that line. So that's just light. So now on this line, on the 1/2 inch line here, and on the 3.5 inch line, we're going to measure over from the edge of the paper. And again, we have to line up the end of our ruler. So that's this line right here, not the end of the ruler, because you see the end of the ruler where my finger is touching, there's a little extra material on this ruler. So we want to line up that first line right there. And we want to measure over 1/2 inch, which is halfway to the 1. So that's this longer line right here. So I'm going to line it up down at the bottom here. And I'm just going to mark my 3 inch right here. I'm going to do it on this side here. So I'm going to line up a little bit below the line and give myself some space. Make sure my zero is lined up over here first. And mark my 3 inch line right there. So now this is going to be a fold line. So I'm going to do something a little different, which I didn't do with the other ones, and I will in a minute. I'm going to make this look like a hidden line. So that just tells me that that's a fold line. Now this line here, I'm going to label, this is going to be a cut line, so I'll label it cut. I'll label this one a cut line. But this has to be a fold line here, and a fold line here, and this is also going to be a fold line. So I'm just putting those on there. So I've just annotated, again, this is a cut line from here to here. This is a full cut line from here to here. This is a fold line, and we're going to fold this line and this line. And you'll see a little bit later what we're going to do with those. And what we can do, just to make them look uniform, is just kind of do this real quick with an eraser. To make them look like they're hidden lines. So that just kind of makes it look like a hidden line like that, kind of like this one looks, right? You can do that again down here on the bottom also real quickly. And you could have just made them hidden lines from the start too. But this way we know we're not cutting on those, and those aren't our main feature lines. So same thing here, okay? Little hack there for you. All right, so we've got our main body piece. And this is where you're going to put your name. So right about in the middle of it here, not too close to this side. Your name and mod. And this is main body piece. There you go. So that's what we write on that, your name and mod, and main body part. All right, so now we've got that done. We don't need to check it at this point, but we could check it to see if it lines up, and that does line up really well with what we've done. So now we're going to make our fins. You have two fins, the left fin and the right fin, or however you want to look at those, and then this is our front cowl piece. So we're going to go and lay this all out right now. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to measure from the edge of the paper over, and we're going to mark points. We're going to mark 3 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches, and then this is going to be 9 7/8 here. And we'll do the same thing up at the top. So we'll measure over 3 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches, and then this is 9 7/8. When we do the top one, we're also going to add in a 1/2 inch and a 5.5 inch measurement up here so that we have those points. All right, so at this time, we'll start doing that part. So line up my zero mark on the edge of the paper again, really good. 3 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches, and this is 9 7/8. So 9 7/8 is 2/16 less than 10. So right there. So line up my zero mark. Always go from the edge of the paper. So 9 7/8, so right there. And then we'll do the same thing up at the top here. And again, leave yourself a little ways down from the top so you got a little room to make your marks. This one we're going to add the 1/2 inch here. We're going to add 3, which is going to be a little bit bigger mark. Then we're going to add 5.5, 6, 7, and then again 9 and 7/8 up here. So what we can do real quickly just to kind of help ourselves out here to sort of visualize this better is just put some lines in here. So we're going to just connect the 3-inch line, real light line drawn here, just like you see I've done here. So that's the 3-inch line connected. We'll do the same thing with the 6, the 7, and the 9 and 7/8 one. And I always like to hold the pencil straight up and draw it straight back along the ruler when I'm making a line, once I've lined my ruler up. So I'm checking with the pencil point, pushing it over to it. Start at the top, pull it back towards you. And one more here. And these look really light, so you can't even really see them on the camera, but I'll hold it up after I'm done to show you. So now what I've basically made here is 1, 2, 3 3-inch squares at the top of my paper, and this one has a line across the bottom. So right in this part here, we're going to write do not glue, or do not color, excuse me. And what we want to do is we're going to take each of these points. This is our 1/2-inch point, and this is our 5.5-inch point, and we're going to bring them both to this point right here that we made with this little line that we didn't go all the way with. We can erase this piece of it too, because we don't need any of that part of the line. So I'm just going to take and connect again from this intersection point right here. I'm going right up to where this line touches the top of the paper, not the bottom of the line here, but up to the top corner. So I just put my pencil here. And again, this is an object line, so I'm going to make it darker. And this is also an object line. So these object lines are where we will eventually cut things out when we get to that point, but we're not there yet. So that's one fin. So I can just put fin 1 on that one. And then I'll connect this one right here the same way. And then I can make this side of the fin. So now you're starting to see the shape of things here. So this is fin 2. So you see I have fin 1 and fin 2. All right, the main body piece down there. So the last thing I have to do is that front cowl piece here. And you should put your first and last initial on each of these pieces. So I just put Mr. Wild, Mr. Wild. You put yours on yours. So on this one here, we have a couple more lines we have to draw. So first off, we want 1/8 of an inch to the left of this, which is right there. 2/16 is 1/8. So I'm going to mark the 0 where my thumbnail is right there at the edge on this side. And on this side here, I'll set this on 3, and I want to go 2/16 past, so I have 3 1/8. So I'll do that first up top. And then down, so that's what that looks like up top. So I have an 1/8 inch and an 1/8 inch on this side, 2/16. And down here, I want 3/8, which is 6/16. So you see how I lined that up right here? Right there. So 3/8, which is 6/16. So I'm going to mark my 0, which is the end of the ruler there. So mark right there, little dot. And on this side, same thing. I'm going to go from 3, and I'm going to mark 3/8, which is 1/8 less than a 1/2 inch. So again, looking at this one, 3/8 right there. So it's 6/16 past the number 3. And then with these ones, what I want to do is connect these again, which will make a diagonal line on either side, like this and like this right here. And then what I can do is put, again, this one we can label as front cowl, and put your initials on it. And then with these ones here, you can make these hidden lines because these are going to be our fold lines. So just, you don't have to be too fancy on this part. You just want to make sure you're being accurate as far as where you put them. All right, so that's what that finished part should look like. So this is going to be a fold line, fold and fold. So I'll put fold on both of these two. So those are both folded. So the only thing that's going to be scrap on this whole piece of paper is that, and that right there. So I just put a little squiggle line to show me that I understand what I'm cutting out and keeping and what I'm not. And you can kind of clearly see that this is our main body piece. We're going to keep this whole piece down here, and we'll color the backside of that. These are our fins, triangular shapes, and we're just not going to color down at the bottom half on either side, but these fins will color this side, and we'll color the other side as well. This front cowl piece, we're not going to color it at all. You can see we're going to fold here and here, and that'll just be cut out along that kind of the trapezoid shape we've created there. And when we're finished at this point, the last step is to take this, line the pattern up on it, and check and make sure everything lines up really good. So your top edges should line up here. Your bottom edge, you have a 1/2 inch gap just like you have here, so it should look the same thickness as what you see here down along the bottom. This line should line kind of up with this right here. And if you check with this pattern, and you hold this on like this, you should see that you're right on all the way around. You shouldn't see any extra lines or things you've missed or what have you. It should be all pretty accurately lined up with what's on there. And at that point, you are done. Ready for the next step.